Welcome to Performance Anxiety. This week's show welcomes bassist Scott Reeder. Scott's played bass for the legendary desert rock band Kyuss. He's been part of Across the River, The Obsessed, Sun and Sail Club, and he currently plays in Fireball Ministry. He's produced albums for The Obsessed, Black Math Horseman, and Sun O, among many others. He's toured the world and recorded with some legendary people in some amazing places. He auditioned to replace Jason Newsted in Metallica and has released his own solo album. Check him out at Scott_Reeder on Twitter and Scott Reeder on Instagram. And don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes. 5 stars would be nice. Please enjoy my talk with bassist extraordinaire and all-around great guy, Scott Reeder.
This is Scott Reeder from Fireball Ministry and Kyuss and The Obsessed and Sun and Sail Club, and you're listening to Performance Anxiety. Oh yeah.
All right.
I stood my ground.
All right.
Okay.
Yes.
The best?
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
My production skills are impeccable.
We did it.
Yeah. Oh man. Hey, thank you for coming on, man. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Gosh, it's my pleasure. How you doing? I know you had a little foot issue there.
Yeah, it's still going on.
Yeah. Oh man, I saw some of the pretty gruesome pictures, but
yeah, it was gnarly.
Man.
I've come a long way, but
well, it's good. Was it from just something you had to have done, or was it from an injury or accident, or?
It actually happened on stage with Fireball Ministry.
Oh no! What happened?
We played 2 nights in a row at the Viper Room. We were playing with Zach Sabbath.
Okay.
And I think it was the first night. I didn't have to drive. We had a hotel within walking distance. I had a few beers, and I was trying to stomp a hole through that stage. Thought that'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah. And you played barefoot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stage kicked my ass. The next morning I woke up and I was like, oh, that probably wasn't very good.
Oh, no.
So it went on for maybe a year of pain, and then it went away for just a few months.
Wow.
And just a few months ago it started flaring up, and it felt like, I don't know if you've ever had a horse step on your foot.
No, fortunately, no.
Good. Well, like that. Maybe like stepping on a nail and then pulling it out, that kind of pain.
I've done that.
Not all the time, but like after shows when I was using my feet a lot.
When the adrenaline wore off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was getting pretty bad.
Oh, man.
And talked to the doctor, and it became like 3 operations in one.
Oh.
They cut off the bunion. They cut up some toe bones.
Oh, wow.
Short bones. Yeah, it was gnarly.
Oh, my
So
gosh.
The operation was supposed to take 2.5 hours, and it took over 5 hours.
Wow.
I don't think my wife had breakfast yet, and she took me in. It was like I had to report at 5:30 in the morning or something, and it just kept going on and on and on, and the horses hadn't been fed. And
oh, geez.
Come a long way. Today's actually the 11th week anniversary of the surgery.
Wow.
So
getting
better.
But. Gosh. Well, also, happy belated birthday to your wife. And I know by the time this airs, it'll be very belated.
Yeah, sorry for the lag.
No problem. No problem.
It's like, I'll be fine in about a week or so. How about next week?
Not a problem. And with injuries and all, I don't, that's not a problem. So you've been playing for quite a while now.
Yes.
But so you started, and I know you were in a band in '85.
Across the river.
Across the river. And I was listening to your demo tapes today that you'd released on YouTube. Awesome, man. They were really good.
We were on to something. we were really into the SST bands, Black Flag.
Okay, yeah.
Virus. We all came out of the punk rock scene, and Mario, our guitar player, who's now in Fatso Jetson.
Okay.
He had an older brother that was turning him on to records like Mountain and Black Sabbath stuff. So that stuff started creeping into our punk rock roots. And I was all into Pink Floyd. And just playing with Mario and Alfredo, and for a lot of the time, this kid, Mark Anderson, who was like 15 years old.
Oh, gosh.
At his house, and his mom, I think, hated us because we were like into smoking weed, and we'd invade their house and his bedroom full blast.
I've got 3 teenagers now. I can appreciate that end of it now. I could appreciate your end of it back then, but now, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
We were still learning our instruments. Well, who's not still learning their instrument? I'm sure Stanley Clark's still learning his instrument, you know.
Yeah.
But we were just learning how to play and actually learning how to jam a little bit, and there weren't a whole lot of clubs that would want to take a bunch of weirdos and let us take mushrooms or whatever and jam for a couple hours. So our friend Dave Travis, whose sister Abby, I don't know if you've heard of Abby Travis, great bassist. She was in the Go-Go's recently. She played with Cher. She played in the Bangles. She's got a project now called Sumo Princess with Gene Troutman, who was in Queens of the Stone Age and the Miracle Workers back in the day.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, her brother Dave brought out a generator to the desert, and we played we played a few of his parties out in L.A., but he was the guy that brought the generator to the desert and had this beautiful party.
And spawned an entire genre of music.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Mario eventually got a generator. So instead of practicing in the garage and annoying the neighbors and having the cops come over all the time, we could just take this generator out in the middle of the desert. We'd go out in the middle of the night with our girls and a couple of friends, drink some beers, smoke a couple of joints, and just jam as long as we wanted. And
that's awesome.
Through some parties, the parties started getting bigger and bigger. I moved out of the desert, probably 1987. And the parties were just getting bigger and bigger, and it was getting stupid. After I joined Kyuss, I played just a couple. The last one I played, I think my sister-in-law drove up, and she said, "There's somebody charging admission down the road."
Oh my gosh!
Oh fuck! And I walked down there, and I was complaining, "Hey, this is supposed to be free, man!" And this guy opened up his coat and had a gun.
Oh!
And he's all, "It's private property." And
okay. But I'll charge you to let you on.
Yeah, that was the last one I ever played. It just got out of control.
That's crazy, man.
But in those early days when it was just us and our girls and a couple of friends, it was so awesome just to be out there under the stars, and just didn't matter if there was anybody there or not. We were just having fun, you know.
So maybe you can help me with a question that I've had and a bunch of people that I know have. Desert rock and stoner metal, and there are what seems to be now an unlimited amount of subgenres. Can you're in the scene? Can you differentiate between them? Because honestly, I swear I think some of these bands are making up their own genres, and they're the only band in that genre.
Yeah, I have no idea. I wouldn't listen to some band go, "Oh man, stoner metal." I have no idea.
That's doom. I mean, that's stoner.
It's Black Sabbath or Monster Magnet.
Yeah.
The term stoner rock, I don't think was coined until after we broke up, and it was nice when we were around. We broke up in 1995, but when we were on the road, we would go to record stores, and you knew they were confused about what shelf, what section to put our CD in or whatever. Sometimes it would be in the punk section, and we'd be like, yeah. Sometimes it would be on the metal shelf, and we would actually take our record and put it in the punk section. And it was nice that it was kind of ambiguous, you know.
Yeah, and it's something that, you know, anybody who basically likes just about any genre of heavier music can get into. And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of a latecomer to Kyuss, and it's the stupidest story. So I'm here to get stories from you, but I'll give you a really dumb story here. Maybe kind of prime the pump here. I remember hearing about the band Kyuss because my prime days of collecting music and listening and just grabbing whatever music I can was in college, which was in the very early 90s.
Yep.
So it was prime time for you guys. And I'd heard about you, but I hadn't heard any music, and I was getting Kyuss confused with some heavy metal band, just like Creator or Crocus or something. And I was getting you guys confused. I remember hearing Queens of the Stone Age for the first time, and somebody had told me, "Oh, the singer and guitarist is from Kyuss. You should check him out." I'm like, that's kind of a weird switch. He's going from this like thrash metal to this Black Sabbath kind of sound. That's a very strange switch. I'm gonna have to listen to that.
Got that a bit back in the day.
So
Crocus, yeah.
Yeah, and that may not even been the bands, but I remember thinking they're more of a thrash metal band. That's kind of a strange switch from that. So unfortunately, I missed out on seeing you guys and getting a bunch of your stuff until a little bit later on, and that's to my detriment. But I'm loving it now. I've loved Kyuss for a while now, but you do.
Well, I don't know how old you are, but it was a long time ago.
Oh, mid-40s. So
I'm getting into mid-50s.
Oh man, so we're not too far apart, but and I hate to do this, but I know I'm going to be asking you some questions you answered about 100 times in interviews, but I got to ask some of them. So,
yep.
Has bass always been your instrument, or did you start off something? I know a lot of musicians start off playing one thing and then just get sidetracked into the instrument they end up making a living with.
Yeah, I started off playing drums.
Okay.
When I was 4, I was really into the Beatles. Ringo Starr was it.
Oh man.
For Christmas when I was 4, I think, I got the first Sesame Street record and Beatles Revolver. Oh. And Beatles Revolver was just Godhead.
So you got those on the same birthday?
Christmas.
Oh, Christmas. I mean, sorry. So you got those as gifts on the same day? Your parents were awesome, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
Man.
My dad was a guitar player, really great guitar player. He also played banjo. Oh, wow. His dream was to play the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome.
My grandpa on my mom's side was a really great jazz guitarist. And my grandparents on my dad's side were church-going, organ playing. My grandpa would play the violin, or no, he would play a saw with a violin bow.
Yes,
it was amazing.
That is awesome.
So I had the religious side, on my dad's side, and then my mom's parents were atheists.
Okay,
and jazz loving cocktail party throwing heathens. Yeah. And so I got both of those worlds all the time.
So
all my grandparents were musicians.
So you got it on both sides. It's just in your blood.
Yeah. So I started playing drums. I got a drum set on my 5th birthday. Started playing in punk bands pretty early high school, around 1981.
Okay.
And then I was in this band called Dead Issue, and the bass player quit, and we couldn't find another guy that was into punk rock, but we found Alfredo Hernandez, who later played in Kyuss, Across the River, and later Queens of the Stone Age. And that was it. I started pretty fast, just playing along with records, probably Black Flag, Circle Jerks, Descendants, TSOL.
Oh man, yeah.
The Minimum was a little bit advanced. Mike Watt is one of my bass heroes.
Oh yeah. He's amazing.
That was a little advanced at that point.
Yeah. Well, and it's you picked up the bass, but you kind of play it in an odd way. So you play, let's see, you play a left-handed bass, but
I just happen to have one here.
Oh, there it is.
Does that show up like a left-handed bass or a right-handed bass?
Left-handed.
Okay, so I didn't know if it was reversed. It's got the fat string on the bottom, and it just comes from playing my dad's stuff. You know, he had right-handed guitars, and I would just flip it over, and the big string ends up at the bottom.
So but now the one you're playing now is designed for a left-handed player, but it's strung for a right-handed player.
Correct.
Man.
Because when I've got a few basses hanging up here. They're all lefties, but when I would flip over this first Rickenbacker that I had, it was a fake Rickenbacker, a righty, and the knobs would be right here, and you're playing here, and all the knobs are twisting, so I'd have to put duct tape over all the knobs. Oh, then the horn would be on the wrong side, so I couldn't get to the top frets.
Okay, yeah. So you had limited movement of your fretting arm there, of your fret hand.
Yeah. So by the time I got a real lefty bass, which is hanging right up there, my first real Rickenbacker lefty, 1975. I took it to the factory one time to get a replacement screw, and this guy opened the case and he was like, "Whoa!" He said he looked up the serial number. He said, "This is 1975. Paul McCartney has one, you have one, and that might be it."
Whoa! Oh my god!
I don't know if that's true, but that's coming factory direct.
That you know what? I'll take that from the factory. That, and even if not, it's a great story.
It's pretty crazy.
So that is wow. That's pretty
I got
good.
a little sidetracked there. I don't even know what the original question.
Yeah, me too. I guess we're just talking about how you started to pick up the bass and you started learning punk songs, but I was wondering how difficult it was since you play the strings are backwards for you. How hard is it to learn?
Noodling around on my dad's guitars and my grandpa's guitars. I think one of the first riffs I learned to play was B-52's Rock Lobster. You know.
Oh man.
So it was already the damage had already been done.
Yeah.
So when I got that lefty Rickenbacker, I had to flip the strings over, and I never had the nut redone. I don't think. I'm trying to see it from here, but I had wire ties like woven through the strings right here to keep the strings from popping out of the notches on the nut.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh! It's worn that much, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh well, I guess it's not even worn. It's just since that's not designed to fit that string. I guess, right?
No.
I guess that would make more sense. Man,
and I didn't have the money to have some guy, some customizer guy fix it.
So you were in Across the River, and then you moved on to the Obsessed. How did you meet up with those guys and get involved with them?
Across the River did some shows with St. Vitus, which was a huge deal for us. We're like, oh, we've made it now. We're playing St. Vitus at the Anti-Club in Hollywood. On my 21st birthday, we had a gig set up in the desert with St. Vitus and DRI.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And they showed up with this new singer, Scott Weinrich. And he got out their van with leather pants and conchos, and it was on May 16th, 1986, my 21st birthday.
Wow!
And we played this gig together, and we hit it off that night. And maybe a month later, we played a Generator party out in Ventura.
Okay.
And we got there pretty early, and Wino was there. And he's all, hey, man, let's jam. And he picked up somebody's guitar, and I actually played drums that day, and Mario Lally played bass. And we jammed a while before a bunch of people showed up. And totally hit it off that day. And we were just like, man, we got to do a band someday. So flash forward maybe 2 years. We kind of lost touch.
Okay.
I'd moved out to LA. Okay, this is weird. I forgot about this story.
My favorite part of this show.
I won an MTV contest just after my wife and I had gotten married. I got a job at a studio in Hollywood. We made the move from the desert out to LA. We got out of the desert.
Okay.
So I think the first month we were there, I won this MTV contest where you call in this phone number. I won a Learjet trip to Arizona to see U2 and B.B. King at Sun Devil Stadium. It was when they were filming Rattle and Hum. You remember that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they flashed my name on MTV, Scott Reeder of North Hollywood. And Wino saw that on TV, and he went digging through a trunk or something and found the number for my in-laws. That was like my last known phone number.
Oh, wow.
And finally tracked me down, and we started jamming in 87 right after that. And we jammed for years.
Oh, man.
And then he started touring in Europe with St. Vitus, and they got pretty big over there. They were doing really well. He was over there when the Wall was coming down in Berlin.
Oh, wow.
So he put out some old Obsessed recordings, and the record label said, okay, where's the band?
Oh.
And so I eventually ended up in the band.
Oh, wow.
And did the first tour of the new Obsessed in Europe. And at the end of the tour, we ended up in Berlin and recorded an album, Lunar Womb. Recorded the whole thing and mixed in 5 days.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was crazy. I'm so proud of that album. It was my first production credit on any album.
So how did that come about? Was it just a financial thing that they knew you'd come from? And because you had been working at and doing jingles before that, right?
Yeah. I worked at a jingle house in LA right after I got married in '87. A lot of film soundtrack stuff.
Okay.
And yeah, then this band thing came up, and I had to be gone for, I think, a month. And I was so focused on my engineering career at the studio. And I told my wife, got this off. What do you think? And she said, I fell in love with you when you were this bass player. You got to go for it. We'll make ends meet somehow.
That's awesome.
And that was it. Huge turning point in my life,
And you guys have been married how long now?
Coming up on 31 years.
Wow. In October, right?
Yeah, October 4th.
My wedding anniversary is October 6th.
Awesome.
Yeah, October weddings, they're forever, apparently.
Yeah. How long have you been married?
This year, 17, it will be 17 years.
Wow.
So yeah, not
years.
not as far as you guys, but I'm confident we're gonna make it. So, so all right, so you were working at the Jingle House, you get this opportunity to go over and tour with the Obsessed, and you do an entire album in 5 days, and you produced it.
Was insane. What's that?
And you produced it.
Yeah, me and Wino co-produced it, and we had our friend who was our live sound guy and engineer, Matthias Schneeberger.
That's a great name.
We called him Schneeby. And, yeah, we knocked it out so fast. There were some weird sound collages in there. I'd done some sound design stuff back at the Jingle House. And they locked me in the studio one night, and I created this whole thing that was supposed to sound like you're inside the womb with slow motion water gurgling and heartbeat. And
oh, wow. That is cool.
There were no drugs involved.
So now, did they do that because they knew you had the production experience, or because money was tight, or both, or neither?
What, being trusted by the record label?
Yeah, I get that, and being trusted by the band to do the production work.
Well, yeah, the band knew what I was doing. I mean, I'd snuck them into the studio where I was working. Oops,
you know.
say that. And we put out a couple of songs that we cut in there, so they knew what I was capable of.
That's awesome.
So it was great to be trusted. I remember, I mean, normally in those days you would mix down to half inch, and to fit that sound design piece in, there had to be all these edits, and I was gonna, mix everything to half inch and then make all these cuts on the half inch tape.
Okay.
So if you screw up, there's always a backup. But they didn't have a half inch machine; it was going straight to DAT.
Oh,
digital audio, this little cassette. They don't even make them anymore. I don't think.
Right.
So I had to cut the 2-inch tape, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's.
And the engineer who was in charge of the thing was like, "Are you sure about this?" Like, dude, I do this all the time in Hollywood. And there was no fresh razor blade. They were all nicked up. And it was like a big joke. I was trying to shop around the neighborhood, going to grocery stores. And it's in Germany. I'm like, I need a razor blade.
I'm thinking you're there to, slice some throats or something.
Yeah, and they bring me a package of disposable razors. I'm like, no. So I was totally freaking out on getting a clean razor blade. And they finally produced a clean razor blade, and it was time to do the edits. And we were fucked up out of our minds. I rocked the reels, got the spots marked. I made the first cut, and I grabbed the tape and just crumpled it up and went running down the hallway, and it's spilling out on the floor. And the engineer's all, "What the fuck?" and I found the other mark. I spliced it together, hit play. And it was perfect.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man.
That was one of my favorite studio memories of all time. I probably took a few years off of Schneeby's life. I'm very sorry for that.
Well, we'll have to make sure he gets a copy of this so he can hear it. So, let me go. I want to go back a little bit to before all of this occurred, because I'm reading my notes now, and that helps when I'm talking to people. Who were your influences, and have they broadened or changed at all as you've grown as a bass player?
Influences as far as bass?
As far as bass, yeah.
My earliest influences, I would say, would be Chuck Dukowski from Black Flag and Mike Watt from the Minutemen.
Okay.
Those were the big ones. Mike Roach from TSOL.
Okay.
I liked a lot of the melodic stuff he was doing, adding little chords. Just, little embellishments and stuff.
Right.
For Chuck Dukowski, it was just that energy. My first concert was Cheap Trick. My brother took me to in 1980. Second concert was Rush Moving Pictures in Las Vegas.
Oh.
My third show was Black Flag. It was actually Henry's very first show. It was a matinee at the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, wow.
I think it was September 9th, 1980, maybe. I don't remember the exact date, but
man,
got to band, and my band was actually supposed to play that day. I was playing drums in this band called Subservice before Dead Issue, and I ended up stashing my. They showed up late to sound check for this matinee, so we got cut from the bill, and I stashed my drums in the Black Flag van. Henry, it was his very first show, and he was the new guy that had to help this kid put his drums in the truck. I think I was.
Oh, jeez.
I was probably 16 or 17.
Oh my gosh.
But Chuck's energy, it just looked so cathartic. Just so much energy. It looked like he was exercising any aggression, any demon.
Yeah.
Rid of it, And when I switched over to bass, I held on to that. And to this day, I try to put out that energy and get rid of whatever pent up shit is, tormenting you, if any.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
into my fucked up foot right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, unfortunately.
That show with Fireball Ministry, I was just trying to stomp a hole in that stage, and yeah,
It stumped
stage
back.
1, Scott 0.
Yeah. Oh man. So, how did you get involved with Kyuss from The Obsessed?
So we were playing Hollywood a lot, and God, I'm trying to remember exactly how I met those guys, because they're a lot younger. Josh and Brant were 8 years younger.
Oh wow.
My friend Garth, who used to be my neighbor, was good friends with those guys, and he actually introduced me to Brant. And they would come to some of our stuff, and I'd check them out, and I had a copy of their first record, Wretch, which was okay. I wasn't a huge fan, but I was stoked that somebody from the desert was actually getting out there and doing something,
Yeah.
instead of just stewing in the desert, rotting. And so Brant asked me if we would do a tour with them on the West Coast, and it ended up being Kyuss, The Obsessed, and I don't know if you've heard of Wool. It was the Franz brothers who played in Scream with Dave Grohl.
Okay.
Just before that.
Okay.
It also had Al from Concrete Blonde.
Oh, really?
Peter Moffat, who was in Government Issue.
Yeah.
So it was like,
that's wild.
Alternative punk supergroup.
Yeah, holy
I
crap.
produced their first single too. I did a couple songs with those guys.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, we started up. I don't remember the route of the tour, but it was awesome. But some of the shows, there was nobody there. There was literally the sound guy at the club and the bartender.
Oh man.
It was one of those nights that A&R guy from New York came out to see us, and there was nobody in the club.
Oh, geez.
3 awesome bands and
nobody there.
Not a soul.
Man.
These days, if we could get those 3 bands back together, it'd be like...
Oh, it'd be like the Monsters of Desert Rock. That'd be awesome. Oh, my gosh. So, all right, so you're touring with them.
Yeah, so the transition into Kyuss comes from that tour. We ended up in Seattle. Chris Novoselic and Dave Grohl were at the last show, and Chris said that his birthday was the next day and invited us over to a barbecue at his house.
Oh, cool.
And this is I'm thinking this is 92. Yeah, this is 1992.
Oh, so
Nirvana's just...
Yeah, they're blowing up at this point.
Yeah. And so he invites us to his house. Turns out we share a birthday. Turns out not only do we share the day, we share the year. He's, to this day, the only person I've ever met that was born on the exact same day.
Wow.
He was born in Compton, and I was born just down the road in Pomona.
Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
And I remember the first time I met him when Nirvana played at the Roxy, just before Nevermind came out. And he's playing barefoot, and he seemed familiar to me. And I thought maybe we'd met through SST a few years before or something. And we were going through all these people, and we'd never met before, but we just had that feeling, So anyway, I opted out of the birthday party. I wanted to get home.
Okay.
I always want to get home.
Well, you're married, right? You're married at this point, right? So
yeah. My wife's been around for everything. So the Kyuss guys, we actually swapped bass players for the ride home.
Okay.
Nick wanted to stay for the party, and I wanted to get home. So I jumped in the Kyuss van, and Nick jumped in the Obsessed van. And so we're driving for like a half an hour, and they hit me up. They said, man, things are pretty rough right now. You know, Nick don't want to get into it really, but he was being crazy in those days and beat up a couple of sound men.
Oh, geez.
And they asked if I would join, and I said, oh, man, I'm honored to be considered, but Columbia Records is checking us out, and it looks like we're going to get a deal with Columbia, and you know, I got to stay the course.
Yeah.
And so they were cool with that. That night, it was on May 16th going into the 17th. We stopped at Denny's. They used to have the free birthday dinner.
Oh, yeah.
The good old days.
Yeah.
And we stopped on my birthday just before midnight. And after midnight, it was Josh's birthday. His was the 17th. And we both got our meal for free. It was like, yes! Nice. It's the greatest meal ever. So anyway, maybe 2 or 3 months later, I got a call from Brant. And he said, dude, I know you don't want to join permanently, but we kicked Nick out. And we've got some pretty crazy shows coming up. And if you could just fill in, it'd be awesome.
Okay.
So I was all, fuck yeah, I'd be honored.
Yeah.
They had the record. Actually, they had a video shoot coming up for Green Machine. That was actually my first performance, quote unquote.
Okay.
With Kyuss. 129-degree heat outside.
God.
Trying to do my barefoot thing on asphalt.
Oh, man.
There was a crew there. They would put ice down on the asphalt.
God.
And the cameraman actually had a heat stroke. It was the Steadicam operator. He went down and he was convulsing and vomiting. We got through that. My first actual show was the record release party for Blues for the Red Sun, which I didn't play on, but you know that was my first gig.
So let me ask you a question about that. If I hate interrupting, but
no,
that makes that kind of sparked something. So they had already recorded this album, and you had to learn these songs, but you play the bass basically upside down compared to Nick. Yep. So how hard was it to learn those songs and playing in the unconventional way that you play?
Yeah, the songs are basic.
Okay.
I mean, the riff on Thumb is like 2 notes. Do that for 5 minutes and then go into this other thing.
Yeah.
Everything was easy, but the hard part was probably one of their best features. The tuning was wavering all over the place. I'd get in tune for one song and learn that, and then the next song comes up, and it's like a half a step off or somewhere in the middle between notes.
Jeez.
From what I was told, they didn't own tuners, which is true.
Oh gosh.
And their tuning drifted lower and lower. So it was all hovering around C. Normally low strings in E.
Right.
It went down a few steps to C.
Jeez.
So my first gig was that record release party, and still no tuners. I had a tuner, but Josh didn't.
Oh, we don't need tuners.
So the first, we get up on stage and the crowd's going crazy, and the first thing is tuning full blast. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. It was ridiculous.
That sounds like a huge rock star moment, though. It just made all this big noise. It's not really meaning anything, but you're looking at each other. Yeah.
It felt so stupid.
Spinal Tap.
So after that show, I was like, no, we're getting tuners, dude. So the second show, we opened for Body Count during the whole cop killer thing.
Oh, wow. Jeez, how did that go?
That was a trip.
Man, that was I remember that being a huge controversy at the time, and
Yeah.
then I remember people not playing the song, all kinds of protests. But I also remember, Soundgarden covering that song that year at Lollapalooza, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in fact, I went to 2 Lollapaloozas, 92 and 94. So I got to see Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, and then the next time I went and saw Pumpkins and the Beastie Boys and all that. But Soundgarden covered Cop Killer, and it was just insane. So and nobody's expecting it because at that time, boots weren't widely distributed. You couldn't just go on YouTube and find whatever the last night's set list was. So they come out and they start screaming, "Cop Killer, Better You Than Me," and I'm like, what the hell? So I could only imagine actually being on tour with these guys. Now, did you tour with them, or was it just that one?
No, just the one-off in Santa Barbara.
Oh my gosh, what was the crowd like there?
It was a lot of college kids, and it was a weird mix of bands. I think there were 4 bands. It was a great show. That was awesome.
Well, anything with body count's got to be just crazy. That's.
We did a convention thing right after that. We played the Foundations Forum just a few weeks after that, and I was doing a press thing, and I ended up sitting next to Ice-T in this room full of press people. I was just waiting for my turn to do some press, and he did an interview sitting right next to me, and he's all like, "My man here, Scott from Kyuss." Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool.
So you finally end up with Kyuss, and then you started. You're on 2 albums with Kyuss, correct?
Yep.
All right, and then a couple EPs and stuff like that.
Yeah, a bunch of little odds and ends.
So the big Kyuss album that everybody seems to be familiar with, and everybody that I've spoken with loves, is Welcome to Sky Valley. And I just refreshed myself with it again. It had been a little while since I'd heard it, but I refreshed myself again with it this afternoon, and man, the sound on that is just incredible.